He walked in silence, dust rising beneath his feet, eyes heavy with the sorrow of the cross. But behind that quiet gaze wasn't just Jesus. It was Jonathan Roumie, a man who gave 6 years of his soul to a role that became a spiritual mission. And now, as season 6 approaches, a whisper turns into confirmation. This will be his last. The journey ends here, not just for the character, but for the man who became the face of faith for millions. But why now? And what has it cost him to walk this road to the end? For years, Jonathan Roumie has carried the burden of portraying Jesus Christ in The Chosen, not just with talent, but with deep, unwavering devotion. From the very first season, it was clear this wasn't just another performance. It was personal. It was sacred. Audiences around the world felt something different in his eyes, in the way he spoke, in the silence between his words. He wasn't simply playing Jesus. He was embodying the heart of him. And that kind of role doesn't leave you untouched. It transforms you, and sometimes it breaks you. Season 6 isn't just another continuation. It's the climax, the crucifixion, the betrayal, the death. But it's also the conclusion of Jonathan's chapter in The Chosen. Insiders close to the production have quietly confirmed that Jonathan Roumie will step away after this season, marking the end of an era. For fans who've grown spiritually attached to his portrayal, the news feels like a slow, sinking heartbreak. But those who have followed his journey closely aren't shocked. They're simply grieving what they already sensed. In recent interviews and emotional live streams, Jonathan's tone has changed. There's weariness in his voice, a kind of spiritual fatigue that only someone who's poured everything into something eternal can carry. He's been open about the toll season 6 has taken, how it's not just physically exhausting, but spiritually crushing. And yet, he never once backed away. He kept going. He chose to suffer on screen not just for the story, but for the souls who would be moved by it. Behind the scenes, those close to Jonathan speak of his deepening silence. He's not seeking attention or applause. In fact, he's pulling away from the spotlight. No flashy posts. No red carpet boasts, just quiet reverence and preparation for the heaviest scenes of his career. And now, with filming reaching its most sacred and sorrowful points, the crucifixion and the moments leading to it, Jonathan has chosen to give his final offering, not because he's tired of acting, but because this journey was never about acting. It was about answering a call. When he first accepted the role, Jonathan wasn't a global name. He was a humble actor with a big heart, holding on to faith in an industry that often forgets it. But with The Chosen, he stepped into something divine, something that demanded not just skill, but surrender. And he gave it. Year after year, episode after episode, breath by breath. Until now, season 6 will show the world the most brutal, sacred moments of Jesus' final days. And Jonathan knows the weight of that. He's felt it in his bones, in his heart, and in his prayers. This season isn't just a finale, it's a farewell. Not just to the story, but to the man who made millions believe in it all over again. In the quiet moments between takes, Jonathan sits in silence, sometimes praying, sometimes just breathing. The cast and crew know what's happening. They know this is the final walk for him. And they're walking it with him, with reverence, with tears. Because what Jonathan is doing isn't just acting, it's sacrifice. And now, as the cross looms closer in the script, and in reality, he's preparing to let go. But the question still remains. Why now? Why walk away when the world is watching more closely than ever? In Section 2, we'll uncover what led Jonathan Roumie to this final heartbreaking decision, and how Season 6 might not just be his last performance, but his most unforgettable one. The decision wasn't rushed. It wasn't driven by fame, fatigue, or pressure. It was born from something far deeper, a quiet whisper in Jonathan Roumie's soul that told him, this is the end of the road, and for a man who began this journey as a leap of faith, it only makes sense that he would end it the same way, with faith, not fear. Behind every great performance is a cost. But few have paid the price Jonathan has paid over the past 6 seasons. Portraying Jesus Christ isn't just memorizing lines or standing in front of a camera, it's stepping into sacred territory. It's waking up every day and carrying the spiritual burden of the world's most powerful and painful story. For Jonathan, it became more than a job. It became a calling that slowly consumed every part of him: body, mind, and spirit. As season 6 approached, Jonathan began to change. Fans noticed it. His social media became quieter, his words heavier. In a world where actors often chase the next big thing, Jonathan did the opposite. He retreated. Not to run away, but to go deeper, to give everything he had left to the most emotional season of The Chosen. And now, as filming nears its final weeks, he's made peace with the truth. He's given all he can. This wasn't a decision made out of burnout or bitterness. In fact, Jonathan has repeatedly expressed how much he loves the cast, the fans, and the mission of the show. But after years of carrying the emotional weight of the cross, he knows that continuing beyond this season would mean forcing what was once freely given. And for a role this sacred, that's something he refuses to do. It's not just the physical toll, though that has been brutal. Long days in intense heat, hours strapped to a cross, makeup mimicking open wounds, and repeated takes of agonizing scenes. But it's the spiritual toll that cuts deeper. Jonathan has described moments on set where he felt emotionally leveled, so consumed by the grief and sacredness of what he was portraying that he could barely speak after the camera stopped rolling. Other cast members have wept openly during takes, overwhelmed by the intensity of the scenes. This isn't fiction, it's sacred reenactment. And for Jonathan, it's become a form of spiritual warfare. In one interview, he admitted he no longer feels like he's just portraying Jesus. He's experiencing the sorrow, betrayal, and heartbreak of Christ's final days. And for any man, no matter how strong in faith, that kind of spiritual weight becomes unbearable if carried too long. Jonathan knows it, and rather than let the role consume him, he's choosing to step away with dignity, reverence, and purpose. But make no mistake, his departure won't be quiet. It will echo through every frame of season 6. Every tear he sheds, every moment of silence, every cry from the cross. Fans will feel the depth of his farewell, not because he says it, but because he lives it on screen. This final chapter will be his most vulnerable, most raw, and most powerful. And when it ends, it won't feel like an actor leaving a show. It will feel like a sacred goodbye. There's also something symbolic about Jonathan stepping away after the crucifixion. Just as Jesus' earthly journey ended on the cross before the resurrection, Jonathan's journey ends in the same place. His mission has been completed, his role fulfilled, and now, just as Christ handed over his spirit, Jonathan is handing over the character, not to another actor, but to the hearts of those who watched and believed. Dallas Jenkins, the creator of The Chosen, has always said this series was made with prayer first, and that spirit of surrender is what guided Jonathan all along. He knew from the beginning that he wasn't just telling a story, he was helping the world see Jesus in a new light. And now, with season 6, he knows that mission is complete. Fans across the globe are already bracing for the emotional impact of his final performance. For many, Jonathan is the face of Jesus. Not because he's perfect, but because he portrayed the Savior with such quiet humanity. He gave us a Jesus who smiled, who wept, who felt pain, a Jesus who felt real. And that is the legacy Jonathan leaves behind. Not fame, not fortune, but faith. So when season 6 finally airs, remember this. What you're watching is more than a performance. It's a man's final offering, a surrender, a goodbye whispered through tears and silence. Jonathan Roumie isn't just closing a chapter, he's ending a spiritual journey that changed him and us forever. As the final scenes of The Chosen Season 6 unfold and the dust settles around the foot of the cross, we won't just be watching the end of a story. We'll be witnessing the end of a sacred journey. Jonathan Roumie didn't just act the role of Jesus. He lived it. He felt it. And now, after giving everything, his strength, his tears, his soul, he's laying it all down. There's something deeply moving about a man who chooses to walk away, not because he's broken, but because he knows the mission has been fulfilled. That's what Jonathan is doing. He's not chasing more fame. He's not looking for applause. He's simply obeying the quiet voice that led him here in the first place. And maybe that's what makes this goodbye so powerful. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's sacred. For millions of people, Jonathan Roumie became a bridge, a human face to the divine story of Jesus Christ. Through him, we saw compassion, we saw mercy, we saw pain, and for many, we saw hope we had long forgotten. That is not something the world will easily forget. So when you watch his final moments as Jesus, remember, this isn't just the end of a season, it's the closing of a chapter that will echo in hearts for years to come. Jonathan may be stepping away from the role, but the impact he leaves behind, the lives touched, the faith restored, the hearts broken and healed, that will live on. And perhaps that's the truest reflection of the story he helped tell, a story of sacrifice.